The events take place in the neighborhood of the Beast Tamer School. There are only a couple of days left until the Tamer's main exam. Tomorrow, the evaluation of the Beastmaster's qualifications will take place. All the students have already acquired their first beast. Everyone will have a good preparation and rest today. The teacher handed out his instructions to everyone, and that was the end of his lesson. Most of the students were very excited about the upcoming exam. Despite their abilities, it was difficult to become a Beast Tamer apprentice. This guy, on the other hand, was targeting the academy in Ningjiang City. Citing his capabilities, any academy was open to him. The Beast Lord evaluation would take place very soon. But this guy doesn't care at all. He's just an ordinary time traveler. About a week ago, during a time jump, he found himself in this body. With the help of the body's memories, the world became clear to him. Centuries ago, countless monsters escaped from the spatial rifts, hunting and destroying humans. In the midst of ruthless battles, humans found ways in which they were able to subdue the beasts. They learned how to control the animals. This profession was born and entered the world stage. After a while, they became symbols of rank and status. Provided that you become a tamer, then you immediately open the entrance to the elite class of society. The young have a desirable dream of becoming the strongest spirit master. Here, people over the age of 18 can acquire their first beast. The higher the soul power will be, the higher the level of the beast. But he doesn't care about that, because the first owner of the body has already acquired the first beast. It is a snowball that is harmless to all living things, and its behavior is too cute. He is so useless that he won't even be able to evolve. Will there come a point where he can live the simplest mediocre life? While other travelers get the best rewards, he continues to be useless. This guy had a grudge against him and taunted Lindsay. If he failed to become a tamer, he would quietly become an office worker. His buddies also didn't miss the opportunity to taunt Lindsay. Apparently, this had pissed the guy off. A few seconds later, the system panel was launched. Lindsay was stunned. Was it really just reloading the whole time? It gave him a great impression. Was it really that luck was on his side this time? In the system panel, he could scrutinize Lindsay's data. Seeing the achievement scores made him very happy, but the pet's characteristic was just as important. Once the growth peaked, then the snowball would evolve. I wondered why evolution couldn't be achieved right now. Could it be that this pet had a hidden evolutionary path after all? And then the reasons for the snowball's delayed evolution became clear to him. Referring to the information he received, the guy realized that he could definitely become a beast tamer now. The next form of evolution was the way of the queen. At first, he decided to use achievement points to improve the little snowball. After making a contract with the beast, his reward consists of one amount. In the next trials, he will get more points. Without hesitation, the guy used the achievement points. He eagerly began to wait for the little snowball's changes. The snowball's level and rank were equal to 1. A moment later, the snowball's growth rate changed by 100%, and it was now at the second stage. Lindsay was insanely happy that it actually worked. But at the same time, the guy realized that the destructive effects would only appear after a while. Such a situation was a bit disappointing to him. But regardless, he had to prepare an ice element essence and a jade spirit. Who would have thought that he would need such expensive items to advance the beast? The first thing Lindsay decided to do was to go get some money and then go to the pet store. Lindsay decided not to pay attention to these fools at all. The most important thing right now was to get a good qualification grade. Out of the corner of his ear, he heard Lindsay's words and didn't seem to like them at all. Lindsay wasn't strong enough, so he decided not to disturb the Zhang family guy. Tomorrow at the tamer evaluation, everyone would see who the real trash was here. This guy didn't believe that he could accomplish anything with his beast. They didn't miss another opportunity to humiliate Lindsay. Suddenly, the girl interrupted Zhang Hao's bullying and ordered him to stop immediately. Seeing Ms. Guang, they decided to stop bullying the trash. Lindsay decided to postpone arguing with them for a while. It wouldn't be long before they would find out for themselves. Afterward, Lindsay ordered her to head home. After all, he had unfinished business. Lindsay didn't understand why beast materials were so expensive. He managed to spend all his savings in one trip to the store. Guan called out to him. She had come to invite him to her house for dinner. Lindsay agreed without thinking for a long time. Also, Juan really wanted them to go to tomorrow's event together. There was such hope in her eyes. The guy agreed with her and they said goodbye. Every increase in snowball level would be much more expensive. After a moment, Lin gave the snowball an item to level up. He still had doubts about evolution. Suddenly, he saw a bright light. Snowball had taken on a completely different appearance. A real ice crystal spirit in the form of a snow maiden appeared in front of him. The evolution was successfully completed. It was excellent. With one thing, he raised the snowball level to the second. Next to it, Lindsay felt a strong chill. Apparently, the beast's strength had increased much more than he had expected. When he made contact with the beast, he felt both strength and coldness. Thanks to the system hint, the guy knew what to do to evolve the snowball. As a reward, he received a spirit and strength crystal. These crystals would play a big role in the tamer's future path. Without hesitation, Lindsay instantly absorbed the wielded crystals. Suddenly, the guy felt a surge of physical strength. Lindsay's physical condition was increased to rank 2, and his characteristics increased as well. From now on, the guy no longer felt cold, and there was also a continuous stream of strength emanating from him. Now in case of danger, the guy would be able to defend himself. Seeing the guy punching the wall non-stop, Snowball decided to calm him down. Linza decided to waste no time and utilize all the achievement points. The current growth rate was 24%. The beast had a second rank and a fourth stage. All the students in the school would definitely be surprised after the present proficiency evaluation results. The next day, they headed to the evaluation and qualification of tamers. Linzo was serious and was determined to win the best beast tamer qualification. Guang was pleasantly surprised by Lindsay's sudden motivation. Just a week ago, he was completely different and would definitely not participate in the trial. Lindsay merely informed that personality changes were inherent in absolutely everyone. All the disciples were always surprised by Guan's choice. She's quite a talented disciple, so why does she keep on cracking up with trash like Lindsay? But none of them had ever found an explanation for her actions. This girl was very annoyed that Guang was liked by absolutely all the disciples, so what was so special about her? As it turned out, Guanning was Lindsay's cousin. She is actually quite intelligent. She has quite a few admirers at the #1 school, but she doesn't seem to be interested in any of them at all. Guan approached him because she wanted to know something. Would the guy really use a snowball to participate in the qualifying assessment? His answer was unquestionable, and he ordered her not to doubt his beast's abilities. If today went well, they owed it to him to celebrate. As it turned out, there was one store that had been on the guy's mind. He wanted to go there so badly, but it looked like it would have to be sacrificed for his sister's sake. A few minutes later, the guy ordered the girl to stop. His petty sister reported that Guan had stolen her boyfriend. But Guan didn't know what she was talking about at all. She had never seen this girl, much less her boyfriend. Then the little girl called out her boyfriend's name, Zhou Hong. And then Guan remembered that this guy had confessed his love to her yesterday. But he didn't interest her at all, and she ignored him. She didn't believe Guan's words at all. The girl was sure that she had seduced him herself. Guan didn't care about her, and she wasn't going to waste her time. So immediately taking Lindsay, they hurried away. But the girl's brother suddenly stopped her. He didn't give her permission to leave them. How dare she even dare to deceive his sister? Turning around, she ordered him to let her go immediately. Such an action made the guy more than a little tense. Suddenly, he swung around to hit the girl. He definitely couldn't leave her unpunished. Suddenly, Lindsay, who appeared in front of him, stopped his punch. Guan was completely shocked at this turn of events. His sister ordered his brother to not stop and destroy her brother along with her. Since everyone knew that her cousin was useless, this shouldn't make it difficult for him. He completely didn't expect Lindsay to dare to stand up for his sister. Did he not think at all about the consequences of such a decision? The guy suddenly wanted to be a hero? It was ridiculous. Such words had absolutely no effect on Lindsay. He wasn't going to let his sister get hurt. Lindsay couldn't let this go unpunished, and decided to give him a retaliatory kick. The force of his punch was terrifyingly strong. Even her brother couldn't resist and fell to the ground. Her sister was completely shocked at this outcome of the situation. It seems that due to the increase in characteristics, his fitness and strength had really increased. Guan is his sister, and if this guy needs something from her, he should go to him from now on. From now on, Lindsay would never let anyone hurt her. The rich guy was in a desperate situation. He obviously didn't expect this turn of events. Guan was pleasantly surprised that her brother could fight so well. In fact, the guy himself did not expect his physical strength to be so great. After all, strengthening his body had a really good result. This made the guy really angry, and now he was going to have a real fight with Lindsay. He couldn't let go of the situation, so revenge was not long in coming. A bright light instantly filled the entire space. Linza and Guan, meanwhile, were watching intently. There was no way this guy was going to get away from them. A few minutes later, a huge rank 2 ghost wolf appeared in front of them. The guy decided to summon his beast to get even with this horrible couple. His ghost wolf is really strong, so they definitely won't be able to defeat him. Beast Guan is at the first rank of the 7th stage. Even with a lot of effort, it would not be enough to win. Despite the small chance, Guan decided to answer the challenge since there was no other way out. Seeing Lindsay decide to also act and fight against him shocked her. Does the guy really want to engage his little snowball? Lindsay decided to protect his sister from possible injuries because it might affect her skill evaluation. At this moment, he decided to personally deal with the rascal. Seeing the guy preparing to overpower her brother, she laughed. A trash like Lindsay would never be able to defeat her brother. Wanting to end this as soon as possible, he immediately ordered the ghost wolf to go on the attack. This beast did not frighten Lindsay at all. The moment the wolf attacked him, he summoned a snowball and activated one of the skills. Just as suddenly, everything around him suddenly turned icy. The ghost wolf turned into an ice statue. After seeing this, they were completely speechless. Guan couldn't believe her eyes that a small snowball had done this. Linza explained that the snowball had recently evolved a bit. The guy was sure that this was far from completion. He ordered his beast to break out of the ice and move faster. From now on, his name was not Snowball, but Ice Crystal Spirit. A few minutes later, the ghost wolf was broken and shattered into countless ice blocks. The remains of the ghost wolf fell right in front of him. He couldn't believe what was happening. It was unbelievable how a beast of this rank could destroy his second-rank ghost wolf. They hadn't expected such an ending. So what were they going to do now? Since they had miscalculated, they decided to immediately leave the scene. As it turned out, Lindsay hadn't given them permission to leave the area yet. Now they were definitely terrified of what was happening. This scene was very filled with coldness, victory, and for some, disappointment. Just like that, they definitely wouldn't be able to leave Guan and Lindsay. The terrified guy started to immediately apologize to Lindsay, but it wasn't actually him he owed the apology to. Next, he apologized to Guang accordingly. Next time, he would not make such a mistake and would definitely teach Zhou Hong a lesson. His sister was completely shocked by such an act of her brother, but in response to her displeasure, she immediately received a blow. Guang no longer wanted to hear these apologies anymore, so she ordered them to leave immediately. Lindsay was very pleased with his action. Finally, he was able to prove his strength to someone. A few minutes later, they silently watched the pair of rascals. Guang happily praised her brother. She couldn't believe that he was able to defeat a rank 2 wolf. Would the ice crystal spirit continue its evolution? This judgment was correct. This was still far from the peak of his beast. Since they didn't have much time, they would need to hurry to make it to the exam on time. 10 minutes later, they arrived at the Imperial Beast Association building. In front of them stood the original stone. The size of the stone was indeed large. Right now, the last evaluation of this year's qualification would take place. Some people will be able to lose their grade for life, while some people will enter the academy and start a different life. Today, Lindsay was determined to finally succeed. The man who entered announced that everyone would receive a bronze medal with the inscription. The qualifications are divided into low, medium, high, and highest. This medal would serve as the key to enter the realm of the original stone. Pupils will have to choose the difficulty of the upcoming task. The more difficult the challenge, the better the reward. On the screen, students were able to scrutinize the difficulty and rewards for the challenge. The rewards for the challenge were indeed good, but most were afraid to choose a high level because a small percentage would be able to pass it. Guang was eager to know her brother's choice, but Lindsay didn't give her any answer. Since this was related to people's future, they should be careful about choosing the difficulty. Today would decide the fate and future of each of them. Guan took it really carefully. After thinking for a long time, she still made her choice. After a few minutes, a table with the number of people by level appeared on the screen. Seeing that someone had chosen the high and highest difficulty levels, people were very surprised. Did some fool really dare to do this? But they didn't care who the daredevil was, because he would definitely fail this test. After hearing the people's opinions, Lindsay let out a smug smile on his face. Seeing her brother's medal, Guan decided to take a quick glance at his choice. She couldn't wait to see what level the guy had chosen. She was completely shocked when she saw that he had chosen the highest difficulty level. Did Lindsay really dare to choose such a difficult level? If he couldn't pass it, he could forget about applying for the Beast Tamer Academy. Lindsay remained completely calm as he was completely confident in his choice. He had made his decision even before entering this building. After hearing this, the other people realized that he was really an idiot. Had he deliberately decided to ruin his future? The chief examiner had warned him to choose carefully, but even after that, Lindsay didn't doubt his choice, because he had thought it through very carefully. The man wasn't sure if the guy would really be able to pass the supreme test. In Lindsay's eyes, there wasn't a single bit of doubt about his own account. Since the guy had made his final choice, it was no longer up to the examiner to say anything. If he chose the highest level, then it was his personal right. After each of the contestants had chosen their level of difficulty, the examiner immediately announced the beginning of the Beast Tamer evaluation qualification. A mysterious energy swirled around all the participants in an instant. It looked very mysterious and mesmerizing. The activation of the entrance to the Origin Stone realm took place. A moment later, each person was given a personal path to pass the trial. Lindsay was indeed very interested in this man. What was so special about him that he decided to choose this level? Was it possible that he possessed some sort of hidden attacks? Within a few minutes, the guy found himself in a different space. While Lindsay has time, he decided to take a quick look around. Lindsay realized that he was now in the virtual world space of the original stone. Any kind of injuries received there would not affect them in any way in reality, not even the death of a pet. Since there was nothing to worry about, without thinking for a long time, Lindsay decided to take action. Suddenly, a system panel appeared in front of the guy. There was a new achievement available to him, defeating the ghost wolf. Seeing the system, he was very happy because he didn't expect it to work inside the stone. For such an achievement, he received really good rewards. Lindsay immediately decided to use the achievement points and the spirit crystal. With the rewards, he once again increased his growth rate and rank stage to 6. With his improved qualities and skills, he now had a much better chance of winning the challenge. After a few minutes, they heard some sort of noise. The doors of the unknown cage suddenly opened, and a rank 1 flame lizard emerged from there. Lindsay thought that the trial would be much more difficult, and in front of him, he was only presented with a rank 1 beast. Just like that, instantly the flame lizard unleashed its fiery flames at them. Lindsay was not at all frightened by this, and he still remained calm. After the ghost wolf, the ice crystal spirit immediately used an ice attack. It carried out all of its lord's instructions. Sharp ice blocks flew towards the flames in an instant. Regardless of the strength and power of the flame, the snowball made the effect of suddenly freezing the monster. After evolving, Lindsay's beast had indeed become much stronger. Such an effect even the guy himself didn't expect. A total of 5 levels would be granted. Lindsay, meanwhile, had already successfully completed the first level of the trial. A few minutes later, a second monster came out of the cage. It was a bandage-type undead monster. It was also rank 1, but it was already a stage 9 monster. If such a monster was presented in front of the other contestants, they would definitely fail. For Lindsay, even a monster of this rank was not scary. Meanwhile, the examiner was carefully observing Lindsay's interest. The guy didn't think it was anything dangerous. In fact, it was more like a child's game. So far in the test, the monsters had limited themselves to the guy's attributes. But the further it went, the more difficult it would be for him. The second level was also successfully passed by Lindsay. With each level, Lindsay was getting more and more interesting. And a few minutes later, the third beast was already on its way to the arena. This beast was a pest, its body folded with plants. The rank of this monster was second. Out of all the ones presented earlier, it looked really frightening. Which one would make the first attack in the upcoming battle? They sent a monster with a stage 1 higher than the ice spirit to the guy. Now they were curious to see if this Lindsay would be defeated in battle. How will Lindsay do now? Will he be able to defeat a monster of this rank? It seems that this monster has a severely rough bark and thick flesh. With this, it could easily block the icicles. Suddenly, the monster made an attack that pierced the ground around them. The creature did use a strong attack. It managed to conjure a vanishing tangle in the ground and absorb the ice crystal. After a few minutes, it moved to the side again to launch another attack. Even though the guy is the strongest of the freshmen, this monster would be the final one in the test. The examiner who was watching was ecstatic. Finally, he would be able to break the kid. But suddenly, the snowball suddenly created an extremely icy area. Everything around the monster was icy. Apparently, the snowball's strength had really grown as well as its rank. Even now, they were able to defeat such a powerful monster. Could the examiner really think that the guy and the snowball only had one skill and equipment? A moment later, Lindsay ordered the ice icicle skill to be used again. The ice spirit released countless ice blocks. This finally stunned the monster's existence. They finally managed the third level and defeated the plant monster. The trial continued, and the guy had 2 levels left to complete. Meanwhile, another of the participants suddenly woke up. He was depressed? He, like some other students, failed to pass the test? They had failed their chance for the future this year. He didn't expect the 5th level of low difficulty to be so hard. The guy next to him, on the contrary, had successfully passed all 5 levels of the test. He was extremely happy that he would now become a beast tamer's apprentice. Apparently, this was a really difficult test for someone. After a few minutes, they watched the trial on the screen with interest. Some of them didn't believe that a rank 2 creature could appear on the test. Then, they saw Lindsay fighting monsters on the highest difficulty. Meanwhile, he had already managed to pass the 4th level. He had finally done it, with the last 5th level left ahead. The students were completely shocked by Lindsay's strength. They knew every top student in the school, but he was definitely not one of them. When had Lindsay managed to grow so much in rank? A few minutes later, Guan also successfully completed the exam. Before she knew it, she decided to immediately find out about her brother. A few minutes later, a 2nd rank and 5th stage saber-toothed lion entered the arena. It was indeed a difficult beast. They were sure that a beginner would definitely not be able to handle such a monster. After seeing the saber-toothed lion, the guy was excited. Finally, a strong monster was introduced in front of him. Now he would have to work hard to defeat such a monster. Despite the strength of the ice crystal attack, the saber-toothed lion easily fought it off. Lindsay definitely didn't expect such speed. A few moments later, the lion launched a saber claw attack. This attack was really strong and was able to hit the ice crystal. This time, he couldn't wait to see more of Lindsay's beast attacks. Despite possessing strong attacks, Lindsay would definitely come to an end. This was the final opinion of the examiner. The outcome of the battle directly depended on the attributes, conditions, surroundings, and strategy of the beast tamer. The crystal spirit was slightly weakened after 4 battles. At the moment, the lion's attack speed was much higher than the crystal's. After seeing this, the guy realized that the battle would be difficult. If Lindsay continued his actions, he would easily lose in this battle. The lion is indeed insanely strong. For his next attack, he would have to find the right opportunity. After thinking about his plan of action for a bit, he ordered the beast to prepare. After a few seconds, Lindsay realized that the time had come. A moment later, Lindsay's beast attacked the saber-toothed lion with its crystals. It looked like the guy had once again defeated the monster. The observing disciples couldn't understand what was going on there. Suddenly, all of a sudden, the saber-toothed lion began to rise up. Could it be that this wasn't the end of the battle? Seeing that Lindsay was about to fight a saber-toothed lion, the examiner was shocked. How did he manage to hide the true rank of his beast for so long? Lindsay's words still couldn't get out of his head. A moment later, the saber-toothed lion woke up and prepared to attack again. The ice crystal had lost enough energy in the previous fights, so it was harder for it to fight now. Despite being tired, the beast of a guy will continue the fight with the lion. They are bound to win the challenge. After a moment, another attack was made on the lion. Thanks to it, they got a small-time privilege, because for a short while, the lion was immobilized. As it turned out, the saber-toothed lion was an animal from cold regions. Its resistance to the cold astonished Lindsay. The guy was very confused. This animal would limit the use of crystal skills. Suddenly, the system panel reported a function to unlock the beast skill. Linza didn't expect that he could now add a few more skills to his beast. Basically, beasts had two main skills. But the more tactics there were, the more combinations could be made. For now, he would need a strong technique to control the enemy. After thinking for a bit, he decided to make his own combination. Next, everything would depend entirely on the strength of the ice crystal. After a few minutes, the ice crystal struck the saber-toothed lion with his new technique. With the help of achievement points, Lindsay decided to improve his spirit level and increase his growth rate. Those watching the fight were completely bewildered by what was happening. How did the guy manage to increase the level of the beast without completing the trial to the end? What kind of materials did he use? He seemed to be really smart. Without thinking, the guy pinned down his enemy to start attacking. After a few seconds, the lion aimed at its prey. Meanwhile, Lindsay ordered the crystal to use the Arctic Chains skill. In a moment, the Arctic Chains had completely captivated the saber-toothed lion. It was then that Lindsay realized that it was time for the crystal's strongest attack. While the lion was being captivated by the Arctic Chains, they decided to use the Ice Icicle skill. By doing so, they managed to break the saber-toothed lion. The examiner did not expect at all that Lindsay's beast could use 3 skills in a row. This action made him change his opinion about it. The lion's skin was quite tough, and they were unable to pierce through it the first time. Without thinking for a long time, they decided to reuse the last attack. Thanks to the last attack, they finally defeated the saber-toothed lion. The final level had been successfully passed. Linza had actually managed to pass the highest difficulty disciple grade. Guan was ecstatic at her brother's victory. The other disciples couldn't believe their eyes. They were certain that the exam results had been bought. Even the examiner himself had not expected such a turn of events. This was the first time in his life that a sudden guy had become such a celebrity with the help of a single test. Thanks to the test, the guy's physical condition and spirit increased, and also the crystal spirit rose to the 3rd rank. This is quite a good reward for today's trial. Upon completion, the second beast contract was now also available to him. After receiving the rewards, Lindsay realized that he would need to allocate time to visit the pet store again. All the remaining rewards had been distributed to the apprentice, and Lindsay would have to leave the challenge. Upon returning to reality, the guy felt a lot of stares on him. This put him in an awkward situation. All the classmates immediately began to praise the guy. He really passed the supreme test with dignity. Previously, almost no one could pass the first-year test. Guan alone had always truly believed in her brother and his abilities. The examiner hurriedly apologized for his earlier remarks. After seeing the fight, he had really changed his mind about Lindsay. The man realized that he was indeed quite strong. From the examiner's words, the students were shocked. He had never done this in front of all the students before. Without thinking for a long time, he suggested that Lindsay join their Beast Tamer Association. This would not affect his application to the Beast Tamer Academy in any way. After joining, Lindsay would receive a decent salary. And also, after completing his training, he would be given the title of Deacon of the Association. Such a chance does not fall to every student. Only the best students have the right to take the Beast Tamer Association test after training. And in the future, there will be quite a huge competition between the students. In fact, thanks to this, Lindsay won't have to think about expenses for the next 4 years. And with this, he will be able to easily earn the respect of all the students. But there is always a catch in every proposal. The Beast Tamer Association has enough rules, and Lindsay isn't willing to lose his freedom of action just yet. After a few minutes, the guy politely refused the examiner. He decided to worry about the future after graduation. One of the disciples suddenly nominated after Lindsay's refusal. But this guy didn't make any impression on the examiner. The examiner was well aware that Lindsay would become much stronger than before in the future. He had no choice but to accept the guy's choice. He informed him that if Lindsay suddenly needed help, he could turn to him at any second. After the speech, he voiced his name. His name is He Jianwen. Linza nodded silently and thanked him for everything. He and his sister then decided to leave the Beast Tamer Association building. But suddenly someone's voice made them stop. It was Lu Xian and Zhang Xiaoyun. They were studying next to them in a neighboring class. Apparently, they were eager to be friends with Lindsay as well. This cute girl had been paying attention to Lindsay from the very beginning. After congratulating the guy on his victory, they didn't forget to mention that they were in the next class to the guy. Linza had a few more things to do, so he decided to leave rather away from the meeting place. From now on, all the girls went crazy at the sight of the guy. His sister decided to save him and silently dragged him away. A few minutes later, he received a text message on his phone. Linza immediately moved towards his teacher. The teacher was unrealistically beautiful. Earlier, news had come to her that Lindsay had passed the test of supreme difficulty. She was insanely happy that such a talented guy would be among her students. As it turned out, the reason for summoning him here was something interesting. She had decided to give Lindsay a book with a collection of basic spirit techniques. This is a required course for Beast Tamer apprentices. Therefore, Lindsay better hurry up and contact him beforehand. Regardless of taming beasts, it is not an unimportant way to fight the enemy. Beast tamers who pump up spiritual techniques can effortlessly destroy their opponent in the future. Spiritual techniques not only help in taming beasts, but also provide protection in strong battles. They help to hide from the possible damage coming from the enemy. Lindsay was delighted by the class teacher's advice. He decided not to waste any time and start practicing immediately. She was quite a sincere teacher, and even now she was willing to always help him. After a few hours, Lindsay finally returned home. Since morning, the guy decided to learn all the basics of spiritual power. He decided to get it over with before he started joining the academy. About 10 minutes had passed since he started studying. Lindsay took a careful approach to studying this technique. It looked like he had already managed to master it. An ordinary person would have taken much longer, and he had managed it in just 10 minutes. A few minutes later, the system panel reported that the technique had been successfully mastered. To improve the Spirit Guardian, the guy would need to use 50 achievement points. As it turned out, the system could also do work based on spirit techniques. This was one of the best news in the past few days. Lindsay's system bar had accumulated a considerable amount of points. The only and best way to use them was to improve his skills. Lindsay was currently at the 3rd level of spiritual power. A few minutes later, the guy felt as if the defense shield had become stronger and larger. It would now be able to accommodate about 4 people. Lindsay's current spirit power was equal to 770 points. After each use, the system would consume about 10 points of strength. Referring to the spirit power points, the guy would be able to use the spirit about 78 times. The stone obtained from the skill evaluation trial had not been activated to this hour. Without thinking for a long time, Lindsay decided to use it right now. A moment later, his spirit power increased by 1 rank, and his spirit power increased to 880. This kind of spirit power really motivated Lindsay. He couldn't wait to learn about the other 2 points of using it. It turns out that Lindsay would now be able to release spiritual arrows. He would also be able to exert spiritual effects on his opponents. Meanwhile, the sun dipped below the horizon and darkness enveloped the city. Lindsay had spent a whole day studying. He tried so hard that he didn't even notice it was dark outside. Just as suddenly, Lindsay suddenly released his spiritual arrow. The accuracy of his strike wasn't great, but it was very similar to archery. One such strike consumed 10 points of spiritual power. Lindsay now decided to try using spiritual influence. It consumed as much as 30 points of spiritual power. From the looks of it, one could see a huge ball flying in the direction indicated. Seeing the huge hole in the wall, the guy was shocked. It was indeed very powerful. Lindsay definitely didn't expect such power. Lindsay had successfully learned 3 spiritual power skills, and as a reward, he received a regenerating potion. This potion would help him quickly recover the spiritual power he had consumed. Lindsay decided to save this potion for a more opportune moment. Next, the guy used the achievement points and improved his arrows and spiritual strike to level 2. After that, he decided to save the rest of the achievement points for a suitable occasion. And now he would have to spend money to purchase a second pet. The next day, Lindsay went to the main mission center. This was the first time Lindsay dared to take on a mission to earn money. With his given strength, he would be able to easily complete a few simple missions. Several mission options were presented in front of him. They differed in payment and the difficulty of the mission accordingly. Lindsay didn't think for a long time and chose the option with the highest reward. Since the guy was a student, the system had picked 3 allies for his safety. The rewards received would be divided among them. Seeing this, the guy was completely shocked, as he was sure he could handle it on his own. But it was too late to cancel the mission. He was then ordered to arrive at the canyon by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Meanwhile, the 3 people were already in place. A few minutes later, Lindsay also arrived at the place and said hello to them. This fellow was a low-ranked beast tamer, Zhang Lei. Zhao Mingshan couldn't understand how a disciple managed to gain access to such a mission. And the 3rd ally turned out to be quite a nice girl. Her name was Wang Shuiyun. She ordered him to ignore them and follow her. The guy smiled sweetly and agreed with her. Zhao Mingshan ordered everyone to tune up because the mission might actually be difficult. These words hurt the girl, and she didn't say anything back to him. Zhao Mingshan decided to take charge. After arriving at the place, they are obliged to follow all his commands and errands. But no matter what, Zhao Mingshan will still receive less pay. As it turns out, all these people are just losers. They couldn't get into the academy, and so they have to make a living doing various missions. Lindsay advised him to just distribute the duties among everyone, and maybe then the pay would be different. Without thinking for a long time, they decided to embark on the mission. 10 minutes later, they found themselves at their destination. This canyon was indeed like an abyss. Within this canyon, there were countless bugs. They actually looked quite intimidating. Their mission was to plug the canyon and exterminate all the bugs within it. Zhao Mingshan summoned his horned rhinoceros at the same second. He had a 2nd rank of the 5th stage. Then the second guy summoned his 2nd rank 6th stage windcutter. Wang Shuiyun repeated after them and summoned her intimidatingly huge wasp. It had a 2nd rank 5th stage. Before acting, Lindsay wanted to take a look at the abilities of his allies. After a few seconds, the beetles began their attack. Zhao Mingshan was already anxious to finally finish off the beetles. Therefore, after summoning his rhinoceros, he immediately used the Wild Rush skill. This guy was so true to himself that the others were just pawns to him. After a moment, he also decided to act. The windcutter instantly attacked the bugs with the Scythe Strike skill. This cutter felt comfortable amongst such dwellers. Therefore, it would be easiest for him to deal with them. Wang Shuiyun didn't care about the dressing down of her allies. Unlike them, her wasp attacked the bugs with a poisonous needle. They had doubts about their beasts, so they didn't even hesitate to attack the beetles. After a few seconds, the bugs stopped showing any signs of life. This guy thought they were a great team. He was sure that Lindsay's strength would definitely not compare to them. Zhao Mingshan, as the senior of the team, decided that Lindsay wouldn't need to do anything. Since they would handle the bugs themselves, Shuiyun would share the earnings with him after they were done. Suddenly, the bugs gave signs of life. In the back of his mind, Lindsay realized that they had not done any damage to the beetles. All of their attacks posed no threat to the insect herd. After a while, the insect swarm came to life again and was already preparing to attack. Suddenly, Shuiyun heard a strange sound. Now there was real danger ahead of them. The bugs seemed to look different now, as they now had horns. A huge swarm of beetles was closing in on the team. Now what can 3 animals do against a swarm of beetles? Now his courage evaporated in a flash. At this point, he had no idea how to fight the horned beetles. All Lindsay cared about was having a boss among the pack. But it seemed like they had no clue. A few seconds later, a swarm of beetles attacked their beasts. After all, it was now up to them to escape the death beetles. In an instant, they took possession of the entire team's beasts. They were terrified of what was happening. If Rhino Zhao Mingshan didn't return, they would definitely be finished. Linza seemed to have guessed that the sound used by the bugs had a paralyzing effect on the animals. This was the reason why their pets no longer obeyed orders. If this is the end, it seems the strongest team was powerless in this situation. Linza's knowledge made him very angry. If he knew, why didn't he tell them about it? Linza decided that the only thing they should worry about right now was their personal safety, because it seems like they won't be able to save their animals. The swarm of beetles would catch up with them very soon, so there was no time to think at all. Zhao ordered everyone to leave this difficult mission immediately. He was the first to rush to escape. The bugs were very close to him. He seemed to have now realized that there was no more time to run. But after a few seconds, Lindsay created a protective barrier. Linza realized that there was no time, and so he used a spiritual technique. Seeing the use of the spiritual technique, he was dumbfounded. After all, only imperialist beast students could obtain it. How could an ordinary high school student be able to do such a thing? But Lindsay thought it was silly. After all, if one tried hard enough, anyone could obtain it. After a few minutes, Lindsay summoned an ice crystal spirit. They had never met such an animal before. They had no idea what it was capable of. Regardless of the rank of beetles, the only advantage they have is only in sheer numbers. Linza doesn't possess broad-spectrum skills, so he clearly doesn't have the strength to fight them. But the spirit of his ice crystal is equal to rank 3. And that means that randomly, his ice spirit is able to destroy on a huge scale. In that same second, the ice crystal spirit used a single skill. Literally in just an instant, he managed to freeze a considerable amount of bugs. And while they still had time, Lindsay ordered them to bring back their beasts. But that was only on the condition that they would give up all the rewards for the mission. Without much thought, they agreed to his proposal. They only want to take their animals, and they don't care about the rest. But it seems that Zhao's decision didn't quite please him. Since the guy decided to personally go through the mission, he had a hunch that he was the same Lindsay. Without thinking for a long time, Lindsay introduced himself. He was indeed a student who had passed the highest category trial. Shuiyun had already guessed this a long time ago. After all, a mere student couldn't even have such strength. Therefore, she immediately asked Lindsay to save their animals. But despite Lindsay's introduction, this guy still didn't believe him. But he decided to forget about it, because the most important thing right now was his beast. He made Zhao very angry, so he couldn't hold back and hit him. After the manifestation of spiritual power, Zhao no longer needed proof to believe Lindsay. It seemed the ice bugs would soon rise again with renewed strength. Lindsay ordered them to quickly pick up their pets and rush to escape. Otherwise, the swarm of insects would attack them again. Shuiyun was suddenly worried for Lindsay. After all, the bugs couldn't be destroyed this way, because his attack would only stop them for a while. But it seems that Lindsay had already thought of his plan of action a long time ago. In order to destroy the swarm, he would first have to deal with their boss. Before moving towards the boss, Lindsay asked them to hurry up. After a few minutes, Lindsay and the ice spirit reached their destination. Despite the darkness around them, Lindsay's abilities allowed him to see perfectly. It seems the improved physical fitness had also improved his vision. After a few seconds, he was able to make out a bunch of insects around him. For his defense, Lindsay once again used his spiritual power. The insects instantly began to attack him. But Lindsay was not confused. From now on, his possession of spiritual power would always help him in battle. With each passing moment, the bugs became more and more numerous. Lindsay realized that despite his spiritual power, he wouldn't last long. Suddenly, he remembered that he still had some achievement points left. In the same instant, the system panel appeared in front of him. In his rewards, he still had 150 achievement points left. This should be enough for a good increase in Crystal Spirit. At this moment, the Crystal Spirit had already mastered the Ice Shield and Frost Nova. With the Ice Shield, Lindsay would be able to move around without the help of the Guardian Spirit. And Frost Nova would serve as a great skill for damage amplification. But first, Lindsay decided to gather the surrounding ice elements. He would be able to combine them with the Arctic domain. After this merging, his attack became much more powerful. Without thinking for a long time, Lindsay decided to use the Spirit Guardian again. After looking around, Lindsay saw the location of the ice elements. Linza then ordered the Ice Spirit to use the Frost Nova. The Ice Spirit immediately started using this skill. Meanwhile, the herd of beetles was getting closer and closer to Lindsay. But thanks to the successful use of the skill, this attack was so powerful that the result was excellent. At this point, the Ice Spirit had already managed to master about 4 skills. As it turned out, pets could also improve their skills and strength when gaining experience in battles. Lindsay thought this was a great place to raise up the level. There seemed to be a chance that the Ice Spirit could break through today and advance to the next stage. Suddenly, they heard a loud roar. After taking a closer look, Lindsay suddenly realized that the king of the insect swarm was directly in the center of the gorge. Meanwhile, the team had already managed to leave the scene. Shuayun decided that they definitely needed to report the danger of this mission. Otherwise, Lindsay would be in great danger. He still couldn't understand why Shuayun was so worried about Lindsay. Suddenly, someone entered the gorge area. He immediately drew their attention to himself. It is Loda, and he is a bronze beast tamer. He seems to be in search of a gorge with deadly beetles.